Welcome back, everybody, to the Generation Varied podcast. This is the show where we talk about business, pop culture, sports, health, everything in between. I'm your host, Caleb Norris, and I'm joined here by my two co-hosts, Ben Okenge and Jack Widener, with our wonderful executive producer in the background, Sophie St. Furman. Gentlemen, how are we doing this week?
Yo, I'm living good, man. The weather is making a turn in Columbus. I always start talking about the weather like I'm some kind of boomer. But for real,
No,
when
it's
you
a
live
big
in
topic.
when you live in Ohio, it matters.
It does, yeah.
But it went from like last week was like 20 degrees all week, terrible, and then this week, like today, was in the 50s. I was surprised, and it's a little rainy, but we'll take it because I couldn't stand the cold anymore.
Hey, yeah,
Dude.
it's time to turn the page when it comes to from cold weather to warmer weather. Hey, February it's gonna be done. I love February, but when it comes to work wise, there's just that like it's a slow month usually. I don't know why even my team feels that way sometimes. But I'm doing pretty well. We had some family that visited us here in DC this past weekend, and it's always fun to, I don't know, for me it's just like reminding, like, hey, people want to come and see us, and it's just fun to kind of show them, like, DC is still super new to me, but like being able to show people, like, hey, this is how we live. That's just a fun part, of living in a place like this. So yeah, encourage all you two to come through anytime. We'll definitely host you.
For sure. Jack, what's like your go-to? Someone's visiting you in DC, they're only there for one day. What are you doing?
I mean, I'll ask that. What do you want? Do you want to do more of the historical stuff, like hit the mall? Because I feel like that's there's not a lot of cities in the U.S. that has building that's like recognizable across in the world,
Right.
And DC just has that. Just because you have 3 buildings that's on, the bills, and so I think seeing that in person will be like, oh wow, I think that's definitely a big thing. I enjoy going to places that can showcase, like, hey, this is where people hang out. So we have a few markets here, and we'll just sit at a coffee shop outside, and people are just walking. It's just a very different environment. I say in the U.S., like, this is a walkable city. And Caleb, you know this more than me. Like, living in Brooklyn, like, it's just it's a jungle, and it's so fun.
It's a vibe. You feel. I think the cool thing about being in a big city is like you just feel very much like a part of like the stream of the city. So it's like I feel like it takes a little bit less pressure off you because it's like nobody's looking at you, nobody cares. Yeah. It's like you get to just like sort of exist. And I love a big city. I love a walkable city. I know exactly what you're talking about, Jack.
Yeah. So I would say I would try to cater to that need. Like, hey, we're hitting a museum. You pick which one is most interesting to you. We'll go there. And then we'll hit up a few restaurants that I know that's going to be great, but also affordable. That, because you never want someone's experience be,
like, damn, DC made me broke.
Exactly. You want people to leave like, hey, I still got some money left. That's great, So that's probably what I'll say.
That's dope. Caleb, how you doing?
Doing well. I am. I keep saying it just to manifest it. I'm on the incline. I back on my BS, if you will. Just headed in the right direction overall. I would say, like, in life, work is going really, really well. I'm so proud of myself at so many things. Let me just say that. I just got some, like, 5 minutes before this, I just got a really awesome call, some really good news. So I'm really, really excited, and just, like I feels like the world is on fire right now, and there are a ton of like outstanding things, but I'm trying to focus on my blessings and the fact that I am putting in the work to be the person that I want to be. So yeah, I
that's
think
just a good feeling. That's not everyone. People will say they experience that, but I feel like it's not something that I want this to be something everyone experience, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
so yeah, soak it in for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like people, especially from our generation, need to take notes on what you just said. The deeper point of what you just said. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of negativity that you could choose to focus on and talk about, but your life is still in your hands. And
Yeah.
like that, like, I don't know. I feel like that's a very positive example of that. Of like, so some things we can't control, but those things that we can, you can still be proud of yourself and your
Yeah.
achievements and your successes. So we talk about the positivity on this podcast.
Yes, we
Absolutely.
do. I came across this card game a while ago. I think it's called Haigi. Essentially, what it is, it's trying to break the conversation formula with with your friends or family or your loved ones. It comes in a white box and has a card, and there's 3 questions on that card, and you kind of pick one. And these are always just super engaging questions that help the conversation go deeper and to get to know somebody. Well, I picked one today for us just because I thought it would be fun, and I'm always curious about what people's childhood was like, and some of the memories they created that shape who they are today. Hopefully, this question doesn't reveal too much about like your childhood. The question is this: what do you think your parents would answer if asked what the craziest thing you did as a child was?
Oof. Dang. Yeah, that's
So,
a good question.
so yeah, the key point is maybe not what you think. What do you think your parents think? So
Yeah.
So
think about it a little longer.
let me say this. I can confidently say some of the craziest stuff that I've ever done, I have never been caught for it to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. But I think what my parents would probably say is growing up, I had this friend, and growing up, we used to play this game called like boot camp or like army or whatever. And when I tell you, at the age of like 8 or 9 years old, I used to have like 10 kids in the back of my yard, like in the backyard with us because we had a pretty big backyard, doing obstacle courses, drills. I had like a whistle out, like
you weren't even doing them with them. You were
training people. And that's what I knew I had a knack for leadership, when I could convince random people to go through these obstacle courses that I created, and then I got to bully them when they like weren't running fast enough or something. That's what I knew that I was primed for leadership, when I was 8 and 9, and like there were like kids that were older than me that were coming to like do it. And I was just like, I mean, yeah, sure, I'll be the general. That's probably the craziest thing that they would say. Like my dad would be like, you convinced all of these kids to do push-ups and jumping jacks in our backyard all day. And I was like, yeah.
Yo, that's hilarious. I think for myself, man, this is a tough one because just like Caleb said, like the disconnect sometimes between what a parent might perceive and see versus what you've actually experienced is one thing. But then also like some of the things that like parents will fixate on and like choose, like sometimes parents will just pick like this one story that they love. And it's like, this isn't even actually a very significant story to you or to your life at all, but they could think that it is, or like it is to them. And so I think this question gets like, I don't know, pretty deep, low key. But honestly, the answer that like first jumps to my mind is just a dumb phase that I went through, and I want to say it was like all of first grade at least, where I just loved to like jump off of staircases. And
oh my gosh,
like it started with just like, like when there would be like 2 or 3 steps somewhere and like you run and jump off of it and like land at the bottom. It started off like that. And then I think I just like would always wonder, like, I wonder if I could do like one more stair. So I like, add 1 step, find somewhere that's 5 steps, and then add somewhere that's 6 steps. And then before I knew it, it would be like at playgrounds where you know there's like a nice like mulchy kind of bottom or sand at the bottom. I would just like jump off of the staircase of like the playground. And then I was doing it in the house. And that's when my parents were like, nah, this is enough. Cause I would literally just jump from the like the second, like we had like a 2-story house. I would jump from like the second story all the way down the staircase, land at the bottom, and like crash into the wall. And now I look back at it and I'm like, why was I doing that? Like, if I did that at my age now, RIP to my knees. Like, forget it. But as a little kid, I was just like living for the feeling of just flying through the air.
Hey, I know what caused that. You're watching too much of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, that, for real. Yeah, definitely that was it.
As a kid, my brother and I are close in age. He's only 14 months older, so a lot of times our friend group is always the same, and we always do stuff together. I'm the one who always, I guess, like cover up things that happened. Like he's the one that's crazy, and I'm the one like shouldering, like making sure our parents don't find out about this. So I think that's why I'm always seen as a mediator, if you will, in my family, between my parents and my siblings. But I do remember the first time my mom caught us lying. We were in Osceola, Iowa. This is when I was 4th grade. And my brother and I, we grew up in a Christian household. Like lying is just, I'm a pretty respectful child. Now looking back, like my parents were really disciplined with how they raised us. But anyways, we joined a Little League Baseball. So fun. We were our team was the Royals. Anyways, we one day got a call from school announcement saying, hey, all the practices are done, like canceled. But then we're like, oh, my dad worked at a hospital. He's not going to know. He gets off at 11 p.m. My mom, who doesn't speak English, she's not going to know what's going on. Let's just tell my mom that we went to practice. But really what we did is go to a friend's house and just like hang out for 3 hours. And during this time, like hang out 3 hours at someone's house, it's unheard of. Like I grew up not a lot of sleeping over at people's places. So like 2 hours is like very generous for my parents. But 3 hours? My parents were like, wow, you can stay this long? We play Call of Duty, Black Ops, we play Mortal Kombat, we were just eating, stuff like that. And we come home wearing, our jersey, got a little dirt on it. My mom, I remember opening our door. She was just sitting there. Where'd you go? And I just remember like, I said, yeah, man, it was a good practice. Oh, she's like, oh, who was there? Oh, Caleb was there. Josh was there. We just started naming people like, yeah, we did like ground balls. And she's like, okay, then why did I get a phone call from the coach saying the practice was canceled today? And pen dropped. And that's the first time my mom was like, you lied to me. And not only that, you chose to lie to me. Like I gave you so many chances to like come clean, and you did it. And she was very hurt by it, because she's moved to America. She doesn't have anybody to talk to in Mandarin. She only has us. So I feel like she saw that as like, oh, I don't know. But to me, that's like one of the crazy things. Just like, oh, that's like, I remember that whole room, that kitchen, just like, damn.
Yo, there's nothing like the silence of like a disappointed mom.
Oh wow. My gosh. Yeah.
That's your soul.
Yeah. But I don't think I ever lied like that to my mom ever again. Just always to tell her the truth. But speaking, transitioning to just 2025 here, I think right now we're just heading into, it's been a long year.
It's been 2 months.
Let me pause there.
It's been a long year.
It's been a long year. And yeah, I know beginning of the year, one of the things we said is wanting to kind of check in on how we are doing when it comes to the goals that we set for ourselves. And I don't know, listeners, you might remember Caleb going through his ins and outs was just really fun. So that's kind of what I want to do today. Just quickly, just like, hey, opportunity to be transparent about some of the progress you have made or did not made in your goals that you set. So maybe you two can share what's a goal you've been making good progress on, and then what's something you think like, okay, I need to pick this back up. So let's just start out with the wins and then the improvements. And I can start us off here. One thing I'm pretty proud of myself and I'm making good progress is the whole January I went to the gym like consistently, and not only that, did like the cardio piece, which was for me that's the hard part because I know how much I need to do to make some good progress, but I feel pretty proud of that. And then now in February, like that block is built. All right, now let's add in the food part, the diet part. So I've done some food tracking, and I haven't done that since when I trained like pretty hard, like honestly a year and a half ago. So this is just like a habit I like and honestly loved. I like just ignored for a long time, and now I'm just allowing it to come back into my life and choosing to push myself physically and mentally. And so that's definitely a goal I'm really happy about. So stay tuned on the next check-in on that. Something I need to revisit and really pick back up is reading.
Whoa,
Yep.
bro.
I feel like that's it. The time just evaporates at night for me because that's like the time I feel like I have ability to read. But the next thing I know, I'm watching NBA or I'm watching, just hanging out with people. And I think that's just one I need to put it back in my life. I mean, I'm still like absorbing knowledge from like newsletter, podcasts, and I'm still learning things. But I think reading books that aren't about productivity, more like the fantasy part or like a
Like
bio, that kind
novels.
of, yeah, just like stuff that's very different than what I read during work and outside of work.
Yeah.
So, but that's my wins and the thing I need to improve on going into March. What about
Yeah,
you guys?
I'll actually jump on that same one in terms of the improvement because that is my same area or goal of improvement as well. I had told myself this year I read I used to read like throughout my entire life from childhood all the way through undergrad, read a lot. I would go through several dozen books a year. Just loved it. It was always a good habit of mine. Um, but then since starting grad school, that's really just kind of fallen off to the wayside because I do so much reading that is like work and not just for my enjoyment, that it kind of like sucked that enjoyment out of it. And I haven't really been able to really enjoy a whole lot of books. I think since being in grad school, I've only read like 3 or 4 books. But so I bought Dune for
Oh
myself
my
because I
gosh.
was like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, here's a
Decent
novel.
Nagaib.
Yeah,
Decent
exactly.
Nagaib.
I was like, here's a novel. I know I'm going to like it. It should be easy reading. Uh, and then I'm going to do this. But the classic, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's the only goal of like all of the things that I want to work on for my personal development this year. That was the one where I never actually set any kind of like parameter around it. I never had a plan. I was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to read this book. And of course, when you just set a goal like that, it's not a goal, it's just an idea. And so that's kind of what happened there. So I am going to have to try to find some kind of parameters to get myself to read this book. In terms of what's going well, though, man, honestly, I feel like every other area of my life, I feel like I'm progressing really well right now. And it
That's
doesn't
awesome.
always feel like that, like in the moment, like in the day to day. But now when you look back and like, you guys are like just joking about like, oh, it's been a long year. But like, it's been 2 months, but it kind of has been a long year. I feel like a lot has happened in
Yeah.
my life, in Abigail's life, just in this past 2 months. And yeah, I'm very proud of myself. I think in terms of my school and clinical education, I'm making really good progress. My fitness, I'm making really good progress. With my coaching, I'm making really good progress and leveling up there. So I just, yeah, feel really good, but I got to start reading.
Amazing.
I think for myself, for some of the goals that I've had, the biggest goal that I have this year is that I'd really like to buy a house, and that's sort of like my north star right now. Is that I really just want to buy a house and like have my own space, and I'm like doing really well with like my goals overall. So I'm on track for my savings goal right now for the year, and my credit has gone up 25 points since the beginning of the year. So
Woo.
really happy about that. So I would say for the main goal we're doing well. I think the secondary goal would probably have a lot more to do with like self-care and like taking care of my mental health and that kind of stuff. Because I feel like my Q like halfway through Q3, end of Q4 was just of last year was just really, really difficult. And was really one of the tougher times in my life. And so I've been really, really focused this year on controlling the controllables, doing what I can do to make my life better. And so I've been in therapy pretty consistently, got on an antidepressant, stuff like that. I've been doing my skincare routine regularly. I've been the one thing that I probably need to beef up on. I've got the diet portions like back together. So I started this year off back at like 225, and I'm back to 220 now. So I've lost a little bit of weight. I know once I put exercise to that's just gonna take off even more. So I think for the most part, I keep saying it like I'm on the incline and figuring out the overall like juggle of life, if you will, between like doing this work and planning for my future, and then like also this podcast. There's a lot going on, but at the end of the day, like I'm still really blessed. And yeah, that's like one thing. Like if I would leave like anybody with, it's just like in the midst of like a bunch of like BS and like pain in the world, like what Ben said, like you can still be proud of your work, and you can still be proud of like the stuff that you're doing, and you can still march forward and attempt to make your life a better place. I think we oftentimes ignore the impact that just starting with yourself and holding yourself to more accountability and working to improve your own life has like on the world overall. And so yeah, I think I'm happy with what I've been able to accomplish this year so far.
Amazing. This is a great check-in. Caleb, you are on the incline, and yeah, I mean, I'm cheering. It's just fun for me to see my friends. While like you said, like there's a lot of noise that when it comes to your personal life, we're making the decisions that's going to build our confidence and also help us move towards our goals. So I hope the next time we check in, it'll be the same thing and even more
Yeah.
positive news. And
I'll say this: I'm thankful for friends that care enough to like ask those questions. You know what I'm saying? Like, if
Facts.
to our listeners, if you don't have people that are checking in on you and people that are asking these questions, where are you at in relation to your goals? Like, you got to have those people, because life is not always going to be flowers and roses, but that doesn't mean that we just accept defeat or anything like that, or like stop giving it our all. And so I'm thankful that I feel like I've had you guys as good examples of like when I think about throwing in the towel, or when I think like I don't want to do this, it's like I think about my friends who have my back, and I think about my friends and their encouragement. And so I just want to thank you guys for being good friends and asking those questions. And I think especially as men, we have to
Mm-hmm.
be like having these conversations and encouraging each other and
Of
checking
course.
in on each other.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's even like it's good to have a relationship that has encouragement and accountability and a good balance. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like you can have some people in your life who can encourage you no matter what you're doing. You could be doing all the wrong things and they're going to encourage you. Um and that's there's something, you want encouragement at those right times. But then there's also
Right.
the times where it's like you need somebody who's going to show you like
mhm.
now you could be doing a bit better, bro. You can step up. And
Yeah.
I feel like the three of us, have that kind of a friendship, and I'm grateful for that. And I hope that more people can, find those kinds of friendships as well.
I'll leave with the last thing I'll say is this quote: "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with have a team behind you." So, yeah.
And also another good quote.
Oh, show
from the great Jay-Z. More money, more problems, baby. That's what Caleb was describing. That's what I kept thinking about. I was like, Caleb said, I got my financials good. Okay. But that's stressful. It takes stress to get there.
More money, more problems. It's funny. Well, speaking of spending money, I wanted to ask you guys, just because I don't even know how we got on this topic a couple of weeks ago, but we started talking about like haircuts and barbers, and I wanted to ask you guys, how do you go about selecting a barber, and like your philosophy on like getting your hair cut? Because this is so important. I feel like virtually all cultures, but like I feel like especially for us, I feel like it's really important to us. Like I always see you guys like with like your hair is like done well. So,
oh no, you can't be saying that, because lately it's been struggle city for me. Which we'll talk about that later. But honestly, so you guys know, like I had long hair for a really long time, and I didn't cut my hair. It's easy to forget that. Even I forget it sometimes, and I'll look at a picture of myself and I'm like, whoa. But for the listeners who didn't know, I didn't cut my hair for over 10 years straight. And so I had very, very long hair. I always pretty much kept it up in a ponytail. If I let it down and it was like wet, it was like back to like my mid back and like beyond my shoulder blades. Then at the end of 2022, that's when I cut my hair finally. And I was so nervous to do that, even months after I had decided that I was going to cut my hair. I was like, because now I'm in this issue of like, I don't have a barber. I don't know where I'm going to find a barber. And so since then, I've had one barber that I've been consistently going to, and he takes good care of me, because it was one of those one and done situations. But my strategy for that is I literally kept my eyes out. Like I had a lookout on every guy that I was interacting with. I was looking at their haircuts. And
this is how you do it.
I was like looking at this guy. I'm like, I don't want to know who his barber is. I don't want to know who his barber is. You got the best cut in the room. I trust you. I trust your barber. Where are you going to get your hair cut? And so I drive like way out of my way to get over to my barber, because it's worth it to me, because I saw he was giving my friends good cuts, and I knew that's the only way that you can really be sure. The proof is in the pudding.
Ben, how much you pay for a haircut?
Like 40 to 50.
Yeah.
It depends kind of like what we do, and also how my pockets are feeling at the time, to be honest. But I think like he charges depending on what we do, he charges like 30 pretty much on average. And so, but I always think it's important to tip those people in your life that are, making, especially when it's like, frankly, I think he should be charging more. So I just see it as like, I don't even see it as a tip most of the time. It's just like, nah, this is what you deserve. You do a good job.
Yeah.
For me, I would say I knew going to Wilmore, like this is where the college I went to was at. Like I knew there was not going to be a good barber there, because coming from Taiwan for 300 NT in US, that's $10. What I will get, and this is very common practice, is you start out with they take you to wash your hair, you lie back, they wash your hair, and then they cut your hair. And then after that, they wash your hair again. And then they give you a massage as you're drinking your green tea. and they got your TV there,
I'm about to
and
move
then
to Taiwan.
they put
In
your hair up,
Taiwan?
and then you go. So that's like my experience as a high schooler. Can't do one more. I saw the design of the barbershop. I didn't go.
Yeah.
He said,
And-
I've
Didn't
seen
even
all
step
I
foot.
need to see.
He said, I saw the building. I said, nah.
That's funny.
I also, just like you guys, started looking around like, all right, who got a good haircut? And remember one day I was at the gym at the college, and I saw this guy. He's a baseball player. I'm like, yo, he has a good fade. His name is Christian. I still remember him.
I know you're talking
And I was
about
like-
Christian always had a nice cut. And
And I
he's a
said-
barber.
See, I was like, where'd you get your haircut? He's like, I cut it. I was like, you cutting my hair? I think I was one of the, I think if not the second person that found him. And I become his product on campus. Because I walk around people like, yo, where'd you get it? Christian. They would start hitting him up. He doesn't live on, I'll get cuts in Trustees. That's the dorm room that he was at. And then he moved off campus. I would, as an international student, I didn't have a car. I would still walk there. So I had a really great person to help me with my haircut during the
Shout out Christian though, for real. He was hooking everyone up on campus with the cuts. It was like the secret for the athletes too. People would
Christian
be like so
who?
low key about it. I don't remember his
I don't
last
remember
name, but
his
he was a
name.
baseball guy and he transferred in. I
He's
just
from-
remember
he's
he was
he's
a
from
transfer.
Boston area.
Yeah.
Yeah, he moved very slowly. He's in a gym, and he's actually a physical. He was in physical therapy, I think.
Oh yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. I know I had
but-
some classes with him though. That was how I knew who he was.
But
Wait, was
One of
he
the-
was he black?
No.
nah,
No,
he
okay, never mind.
was
I
he
think
he was Latino.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And anyways,
I
like
think
he
he
will
was
wear
Colombian,
black
maybe.
gloves. He wear black gloves when he cuts my hair. I'm like, this is
Mhm.
crazy.
And he had the flashlight and everything.
Yeah. He, and this is like in a dorm room. Just
I
to show
love
you how
that.
how committed this man was. But he inspired me to like cut my own hair. So actually, since my going to my sophomore year, because Christian was an upperclassman, he left, so I had nobody. I started to learn how to cut my hair, and I've been cutting my hair since. So I save a lot of money. I buy a few things. I have a mirror set up that's like help me see the back of my head. I watch a ton of YouTube videos to always figure out like how to blend the fade and what kind of tools to use. So I'm happy I'm at a point where I don't go to barbershops. The only time I do is like if I want to see it as a treat, like go to a place like, all right, I'm just gonna sit there because it's very
Yeah,
like
Jack,
therapeutic.
Since you cut your own hair though, and you do a good job at it, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Do
Yeah.
you feel like if you go somewhere and they give you like a worse cut than you could give yourself, like it makes you feel some type of way?
It's just I think it's more. I can't believe I'm spending money for this, especially how much. Because again, $10 for what I got in Taiwan versus like $50 or $40 in US, and I feel like if you want to get a good haircut, it's a lot of times way more than that because you want to tip, like you said, like. But tipping culture is also we didn't have a tipping culture in Taiwan, so to me, I always just do the math. It's just like this is just so expensive,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's hard.
so
Hey,
that's a huge motivation for me to cut my own hair.
Yeah.
by the way,
It-
let
it is.
me tell you guys. His name was Christian Colon. I looked him up because this guy he deserved the shout out. Okay,
Shout out Christian Cologne.
the
Shout out
only
Christian,
guy
man.
in Wilmore getting everybody right. Christian Colon.
So true.
He was a dope dude.
So
too.
true.
Dude, I love that. I feel like when it comes to barbershops, or barbers, I've lived like 1,000 lives with them already, like in my lifetime. I will say this. I am very much like, so I have right now, because my hair is longer, I think it's past 12 inches. So it's like, I've got now like a beautician that will like I'm actually going to her on Friday to clean up the curls and that kind of stuff. That like keeps like my hair like naturally curly and like takes the split ends out. I've got a hair braider in New York who genuinely don't nobody lay that hair out like my girl Sonia. in Bed-Stuy, okay? And she only charges like $75, I think, to like braid hair, which is crazy. I literally pay her double that, because if you know anything about hair braiding, it's like, to braid my hair, it's like 3.5, 4 hours, like from start to finish. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So like, I literally double what she charges, because it's like everybody else is charging this. She's just trying to build her book. But then for barbers, I always either do what Ben does, which is I'm always asking people, what barber you go to? What barber you go to? I see somebody with a fresh cut that looks good. I'm like, what barber did you go to? Okay. So I'm always keeping my head on a swivel.
Yeah, it's important. It's a skill, man. It seriously is. You got to have a repertoire.
Who is the best barber for that I can get a hold of? I promised myself when I started working professionally, if there was one luxury that I will always keep, it is I am going to have a barber cut this head of hair every single time. Okay? Because I don't know if y'all know this, but I have a very big head, and I just can't be responsible for the outcome. And I also don't have, like, Jack, you have like straighter hair. Like, I've got very curly hair. Them curls be ducking and dodging, and like
it would end up so uneven. It's so hard to do that.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. I have a difficult head of hair to cut. I acknowledge that. I'm willing to pay the professionals to do it. Okay. One of the things that is important to me is that your barbershop looks just a little raggedy.
Just a bit, though. Not Wilmore level.
It's essential to me. Mm-hmm. Okay? When I walk into barbershops and they've got marble counters and we've got hot towels and we've got art on the walls, that's how I know the cut's about to be weak.
Yeah. If they don't
because
have
you
that, like, you know, it's got to have like a rundown, a vending machine that they just be filling up as needed. And they're like, oh, man, we don't have any more Gatorade. Like, nah, I'll go get you one in the back. Because
I need a rundown vending machine. Mm-hmm. I need an air conditioner in the window.
All of it.
I need old MJ and Kobe posters on some walls somewhere. Mm-hmm. I need an old head in a chair that's been there for 20 years but don't ever cut nobody.
Yep.
There are just some essentials that I need to know that the cuts will be quality.
Yeah, there's always got to be bro in the corner sitting there, but he's not even getting a cut. He's not even getting a cut. Mm-hmm. He's just there. And he's there every time too. Doesn't matter when you go, he's there. But he's not getting a cut, and he's not cutting anybody either.
Barbershops are so essential to Black culture. And honestly, I actually was reading this article about how it's like one of the last like staples that is like universal to like Black Americans. So the Black barbershop is essential. I see marble anywhere. Y'all overcompensating because here's the thing. People will drive to the worst part of the city and park their nicest car to get a nice cut from a barber that is going to do them up correctly. And honestly, a nice cut will get you farther than a nice restaurant will on a date.
Ooh.
I'll say
That's tough. That's true.
A fresh cut will get you farther than a nice restaurant.
I love those videos, like people who do skits, like when before you go in the barbershop, you're just like super low confident, can't even really speak up, can't even get your sentence out.
You're like,
and and you're halfway through, you started like licking your lips. And then at the end, it's like, what we doing tonight? You know, like, are we going out? Like, I mean, dude, I love that experience when I do go to barbershop, but I don't go as often. But I wish that is the case for everyone. But to your point, there is just a difference in terms of like where you go. It is a huge, it's so important.
Yeah, I remember one time I was, this is funny because I had like just moved to Wilmore. This is my junior year. So I transferred. So my junior year, I transfer in and I needed a haircut. and obviously nothing in Wilmore. And so I go into Lexington, and this guy had like some pretty good reviews, I thought. Cuts my hair. I mean, dude, like brought me like so far
No
back.
way.
Dude, like jacked up my hairline. Like I've used vitamin E oil for years to like reestablish this, bro. Like fundamentally altered the way that like my hair like it was so bad that I went into my first like Black Student Alliance meeting crying. Like tears. Call Demarion, call Bree, call Etta. I went into my first, literally tears falling off my face because I was like, look what I felt like the Godfather with like my boy.
What did they do to my boy?
What did they do to my boy? Like I actually like I mean I think everybody has good hair regardless of the texture of it, but I've learned to like love the texture of my hair over the years, and when it got like butchered real bad, oh my God, I cried.
That's like the worst feeling. Like your confidence, and it makes it so scary when you do go somewhere new. Like for you, Kayla, like going down to Kentucky and trying to find like, all right, and yeah, that's just I'm glad that you did have people, you when you went back to campus, you had people to go to versus like going to dorm. I would lock myself until my hair grew back out. You know what I'm saying?
It was so bad. It was so bad. I walked in, the owner saw my hair and literally like eyes got real wide and just went over to the cash register and gave me back all my money. Like it was a terrible haircut. It was a terrible haircut. Have you ever had like a butchered haircut?
It's funny you should say that. Only one in my life. And I don't know. Everybody around me swore that it wasn't a bad haircut, but when you know, there's nothing that anybody could tell you. You know that feeling we've been talking about. Like you're supposed to leave the barbershop feeling like you could just take on the world. And when you leave and you're like, I don't know, that to me is enough to call it a bad haircut. It actually happened to me right before I had to, I was traveling that day, driving up to Canada, and Abigail was waiting on me, and I was like, don't worry, I'm just going to go get my haircut. I'll be back soon. Then we'll drive, full day drive. But I went to this place of a friend of mine had just opened up a barber shop, and I wanted to be nice. I was trying to do like make a friendly gesture, show my friend like, hey, I support you. I support your business.
Bro, you can't be doing that.
Friendship, man. Oh, so I went, and this place was stupid far from where I live. And I still went, and I did it. And I went out there, and one thing I guess I hadn't realized until I was literally sitting there is like, I think he only cuts white dudes' hair. But I'm not certain. Because his kids, because he's a white guy, and he's married to a black girl, and his kids are mixed. And he cuts his kids' hair, and their hair looks good. So I was like, all right, I can trust him. I'm mixed. My hair is like his kid's hair. And yo, when I tell you, I left there just so demoralized, and it took forever. For so long, and I had to drive like an hour back to Abigail waiting on me. Like, you're like making us late for our trip, and I'm already in a bad headspace, and now I'm stressed because I'm running behind. And bro, that was just not. It wasn't even so much the cut. The cut was okay, but it was just enough that it was like I couldn't look at myself, and I felt terrible for a long time.
Wow.
And now that was the only time that I strayed from my regular barber, and ever since I've been going to him, and I'm not changing that, bro.
Yeah.
No shot.
Wow.
My best barber I ever had a rap sheet. In the court systems. Let me just say that. Best barber
what's that? What's that?
A rap sheet? I'm saying like he had like a criminal record is what I'm saying.
Oh. I was like,
Best
is
barber.
that a different thing you put around your neck? Like,
Listen, in fact, he just got out like 2 years ago and like is like now off of parole and all this kind of stuff. Just opened up a little mini shop again in Columbus. Let me tell you something. Homeboy can't even take was so good in the 90s. He won all of these hair shows in Atlanta. Can't even take on new clients because his book of business is that fat. Homeboy was charging $40 for a haircut back in 2018. That's how smooth he was. And let me tell you something, he's probably charging 55 or 60 now. When I'm in Columbus, he cutting his hair. He
Yeah.
cutting his hair.
wow.
He's cutting his hair.
It's good to have someone like that in your corner.
I love it.
I don't remember a bad experience just because I feel like my hair grows back every 2 weeks. It's so fast. So I think a lot of times I just wear a hat for a week, and next thing you know, the fading part is like it's not as noticeable. One of my favorite haircuts I got was in Tokyo, and I remember just like that is my bar when I cut my own hair now. Like there's this haircut I got in front of the hotel. It's just a random hotel too, not a hotel, a barbershop, but it was so professional. Like like I feel like wow, I'm in a different like this country is so advanced. I
Yeah.
felt the same way about the tools they were using. They did put something around my neck that had weight, and then it put the thing. It's just they'll massage your head. Oh, it was just like
I'm about
and
to
they
go
were
to
using
Asia just for my next
they were using
haircut,
a lot of
Jack.
scissors. They weren't using. I mean, they used a little bit, but a lot. They were just using just straight up scissors, all even on my side.
Yeah.
And then when I
crazy.
left, I was like,
That's precision.
This is in
Whoa.
Asia.
"This is in Tokyo, Japan." Yeah,
It's because the hair is so straight that scissor cuts are literally
Yeah.
better oftentimes than like when your hair is straight, a
Yeah.
scissor cut is like where it's at. Like I wish I could get like an all scissor cut. It just like would not work.
Yeah, that is my standard, and I hope I get there someday. But that's a good call. That's a great Kayla. I should have known that, but that totally makes sense.
Yeah, scissor cuts are like is like the classic way of doing it. It just doesn't work for like my hair. It would not work with a scissor cut.
The real question is though for you, Caleb. You've seen Jack cut his hair, and he's nice with it. Would you let Jack cut your hair?
I will not lie myself. I was.
You're already voting yourself off the island.
No, it's
Probably
it's,
not.
No.
No.
I would not even put myself in the position to do that.
Now, here's the thing. If this was spring of 2020, absolutely. I let a line cook at Texas Roadhouse cut my hair in his basement during spring of 2020 when all the barbers were closed out. I was desperate. So Jack, if we go into lockout again, I'm calling you first. But outside of a lockdown, no.
Hey, I understand.
Guys, we've been talking about like childhood and stuff a lot, and I think one of the things I was thinking about in terms of childhood kind of came up from just a situation that we were talking about in our last meeting of kind of I was at my house and there's this little kid in the neighborhood. This was back in the summertime, who he was going door to door, knocking on doors, asking like, "Hey, I'll mow your lawn for $5," right? And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I can mow my own lawn, but I want to support this kid."
Right.
And of course, you pay the kid more than $5 because he doesn't realize, like, brother, you should be charging more than this. But the kid did a terrible job mowing my lawn, but I was still happy. Just because when is
you got the $5 special.
Yeah, no, listen.
You got the $5 special.
I even told him to after, no disrespect, because he's about like, I don't know, 10 or 12. And I told him like, listen, man, if you're gonna want to keep mowing people's lawns, you're gonna have to get a lot better than this. But I'll still pay you, bro, because I respect the hustle. And I really do. Like I love like childhood hustles. And it made me think of all the things that I used to do for money as a kid, like shoveling driveways, all that kind of stuff. And as I think back, like I saw that one kid last summer. But aside from that, like, when is the last time that you guys saw a kid that's not a Girl Scout selling Girl Scout cookies, like just a kid independently out on their hustle?
It's so funny that you bring that up because I literally had kids here that came and knocked on our door like a week ago now to shovel snow and ice after we got like a bunch of inches.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, for the price, they was charging $50 to shovel a driveway.
Oh, that is robbery.
Now, we said yes before we knew the price, but I'd have haggled and negotiated a little bit because I was like, pal, $50. I don't know about all that.
Wow.
But I mean, I was like, I almost said, what is the market rate right now for a driveway shoveling? Because back in my day, it was 10. I don't think inflation has gone up that much, but I digress. But no, we had like kids here knocking to like shovel the driveway like just the other day, so that was cool to watch.
That's sweet.
I haven't seen a lot of kids. I think one, I'm in Living City now, and the place I've been living is like apartment residential, so I think I don't see that hustle most of the time. I think a lot of times is if I come across on my Instagram reels. But I know there are definitely kids out there, but I definitely feels less. It's frequent. I think there's definitely just more ways of, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, aside from the kid that came up and approached you for mowing a lawn, like, have you seen more people?
No, not at all. And I think that's kind of what makes me wonder is like, why is that not so common? Because when I was a little kid, like in my neighborhood, there were like, not just my neighborhood, but I mean like the neighborhoods surrounding mine as well. There were like 4 or 5 kids at least that I remember that were all trying to do the same thing that I was doing. Like if it would snow, they would be hustling. Like it got to the point where it was kind of like, like, this is my
who's getting to the house
What-
first?
why you-
Like,
yeah, like I
some
got to run to this
competition.
house. Yes, it was serious competition, and like you had to know what the other kid was charging, and so that you could undercut him and be like,
listen,
"Oh, he charged you 20. I would have done it for 15. I'm sorry. Next time, hit me up though." And like that's how it used to be. But man, I feel like right now it's just a open market.
listen, there was this one time when I was trying to raise money to go to church camp. And we were like going door to door, like we'll weed eat, like we'll do this. This older couple was like, yeah, sure, like come back here and help us weed eat and garden. Now listen, me and my friend worked in these people's backyard like literally all day. And we hadn't agreed on a price. And that was this. You want to know when I became a businessman? It was at this exact moment. Okay. So we were 12. And don't you know, homeboy pulled out, we worked in his yard all day. He pulled out 3 crisp dollar bills for each of us. And I looked up at him and I was like, where's the rest of it? That's what I said at the ripe age of 12. I told that old man, where's the rest of it? He said, well, that's the price for it. And I was like, so I was so done with that. And let me tell you something. I later on that same year unionized all of the neighborhood boys. Unionized us.
Nobody's working for less than 10.
20. We would not take a lawn for less than 20. And I told them, I was like, listen, guys, because at the time it's like we don't have bills. I was like, listen, I had framed it like this. You don't want to undercut other people because you're going to make less money. And if we all hold the line, we can just have our houses. I said, and then we can do each other favors. So if you're out for a week or something, I'll go over and cut your lawns. And then if I'm out for a week or something, you can come and cut my lawns. And we literally had this whole system worked out where I had my 3 steady houses at $20 a week. and we would not take anything less than $20 for a lawn. And
Bro,
I literally,
that's dope.
bro, that man pulling out $3 bills and handing that to me was
Changed
like, let
your
me tell you
life.
something. I absolutely not. Nothing was like, I am for the people, pay transparency, than being 12 years old, working all day and getting $3 for it. I was like, absolutely not.
That's such
crazy.
a cool story. Oh my
I
goodness.
feel like that would make like the funniest movie of like if it was done in like a old like a mob movie, you know, like one of these like secret mob, but it's ran by children mowing lawns. Like,
Dude, so the dude
that's
said to
basically
me,
what you
like,
just described.
he low-key gave me the idea for it. He was like, well, somebody else will take the work if you don't want it next time. And I was like,
and you said,
pal,
will they?
let me tell you something. I am too vindictive in my nature to let that little comment go. I was like, let me tell you something. I'm gonna get every person that I know that's out here digging in people's lawns and mowing grass and weed eating. I'm gonna get all of us together. And when I tell you the next time you pay somebody, I didn't say any of this, but I literally, that comment was when I rounded everybody up. And I was like, listen, if we stop undercutting each other and if we set a baseline price, what are they gonna do? They'll just have to pay it. And
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
They're not gonna tell
and
kids
it's
no.
not. And it's not. You think I was out there having folk marching hut to when I was 8 and 9 just to be stabbed in the back by some old man paying me $3 for hand plucking weeds in his yard?
Nah, you learned a lot though. Honestly, it was you got robbed financially, but you made more money in the long run from the lessons that you learned from that.
Correct.
Sometimes you gotta take a little bit of an L to stack up the wins later.
For sure.
So okay, like let's just jump back to it. Why is it that these kinds of hustles aren't so common today?
I think a big thing is there's more things distracting us. I think when you think about social media, Facebook, Instagram, or you think about entertainment, streaming services, Disney, Netflix, like the way they're designed is to make you spend more time on that. So I think there's definitely a correlation in terms of like, I don't know, when you look at the labor for adults, like the stat versus like when the streaming service and social media like start booming. I mean, I'm not saying that is why, but there's just like, oh, like these two things are happening, you know. So I say, I don't know. That's probably will be where my guess is at. Like, also because of COVID, like,
yeah, I was
that might have said something about socializing. You know, I don't know.
I think even like on that same note with the COVID is like, there's a lot of Karens out there now. Like, if you're a little kid, you can't be doing this kind of stuff in today's world. Somebody's gonna be complaining about you. Someone's gonna say, "Oh, this kid's parents are irresponsible, letting them out here doing this." People always got something to say about what you're doing, and I feel like that's one thing that's very different. And maybe it's because of social media, like you're talking about, Jack. But like, people don't like minding their own business, and that like severely impedes on this kind of thing where, you know, kids just want to be kids. But if they have to be worried about adults judging them and getting them in trouble and just making their lives difficult, then it's not worth it.
I'll say one more thing. There's just so much socializing platforms like Fortnite or like there's just so many alternative options where kids hang out these days, like online. So I feel like when you work in person, you feel motivated when you see your friends working. So maybe there's something about that too, you know. Those are my guesses though.
Yeah, Caleb, do you have any ideas? Like,
I'd say Karen's probably the safety of it all, and then probably like social skills. Like, I don't think half these kids have the social skills to pull a lawnmower up in somebody's yard and say, "Yo, can I cut this lawn? How much you want for it? $20? Nah, I don't have $20 for it. I got 15 for it. Will you take it?" Like, nah, I won't do it for $15. Like, people don't have that social skill to be able to go back and forth with somebody and even ask. Like people just don't ask for the things that they want. They don't. They like I mean, I could talk about that all day, but yeah, I think culturally it's like it's not as maybe not acceptable. It's not that it's not acceptable. It's that it's just like it's not a priority, I think, for a lot of people, which I think is goofy, but
yeah. Okay, my final question for you guys. If today in 2025 you were a 12 to 15-year-old little boy, okay, what would be your hustle? What would be your way to make a little bit of extra bread in today's world?
I have two things, and this is inspired by what I have seen kids are doing today. There's this kid that what he does is he washes cars. He does like the inside of the car,
like detailing,
and all that.
Yeah.
But he captures the content too. So he like promotes himself on social media. He got so big, he's like going to like millionaires, like they're detailing their car, you know. So and he shows the whole process of that. So to me, that's like wow, like you're one learning how to do marketing skills or just putting yourself out there, but now you're being exposed to people who you know who are successful in their life. So I feel like that's a really fun way because you know now you're probably at this point this kid is probably being reached out like, hey, I have two you know nice SUVs, you know, could you come over and do detailing on that. The second one's a little stupid. This is like a trend I'm seeing. Like I saw this kid's like, hey, I'm gonna clap for the amount of followers. This is day one of me clapping for amount of followers I have. One clap, posts a video. Next day, oh, how so? One follower. And then it will all of a sudden become like 15K followers.
It's crazy.
And you see this kid just like clapping. And but obviously they get to a point where the parents are like, hey, you're just doing 100, but keep doing this. But just like I mean that's such a simple example, but you can do so many things. You can, hey, I want to sing this or say one line of the Dune chapter 1 every day until I make through the chapter, you know, just like something super silly like that.
I think I'm gonna go old school. I'm gonna say either baling hay or mulching. Let me tell you something.
Mulching is a moneymaker,
bro. When I was 14, I had this guy that had and here's the thing. It was my lifting. It was my my lifting buddy in football. And his dad owned this mulching company, and we would wake up at like the ass crack of dawn, like 4 a.m. Okay, we would be up at like 4 to be at the mulching place at like 5 to be at somebody's house at like 6, and we'd go to these like massive houses in Powell, and would just like it would take like 8 hours to mulch like this one house, right? Huge truck of mulch. And honestly, I got paid like $16 an hour for it back in like 2013, bro.
Too. And as a kid,
back in 2013, as a kid,
for sure,
bro. I like, but also it taught me like, honestly, I don't want to be mulching my whole life and doing manual labor. So it was like honestly a great like and then a bunch of the other guys that I played football with, they would either mulch or bale hay. Like, I don't care what anybody says. You find like a farmer, like you can, there is hail to bay. There's a lot hay to hail. What is it?
Hay to bale.
Hay to bale. Yeah.
That's tough to say though.
There is hay to bale somewhere. You also get like super ripped. So I remember I remember at the end of the summer being like, woo, okay. Because all you're doing all day is like lifting. Like, think about it. Like, stuff. You're like lifting this barrel that's like 75 pounds of mulch constantly. You have to like use your core to like keep it straight, to keep it upright. Like, you're like shoveling and like, I mean, it was a great workout. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I love those ideas. What I would say is they're really, I don't have an answer because I feel like in 2025 there is no wrong answer. All you have to do is find the thing that you enjoy doing, somewhat enjoy it. It doesn't even have to be your passion in life. But like as a kid, like I had a fun time when I was shoveling driveways. I loved doing that. I was hanging out with my brothers when we were doing that. We were listening to music, we were talking. It was like such a good time, and we got to make a little bit of money on the side. Now, that was with competition where it was like I can only do 10 driveways because then the other kids are going to have all the other driveways. Like we just talked about, there's no competition today. You can have a monopoly on whatever it is that you enjoy.
Monopoly.
So I'm saying this to any of our younger listeners out there: go out and find something that you can enjoy.
Get
You can
your
that
bread.
you can monetize. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. You don't have to think about it too deep because there's not going to be a lot of people your age trying to compete against you. So you automatically, just by starting, are in that top 1%. You just got to keep pushing.
Hey.
Well, as always, thank you all for joining us today. We hope this episode brightened your day. We really appreciate you building this community with us and building this podcast. It's such a blessing and a joy to get to do this week after week. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to rate us 5 stars on whatever platform you're listening and share the episode with a friend. Follow us on social media at Generation Varied. Shoot us a DM with any ideas for topics that you'd like to hear us discuss in the future. We could not do this without you, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week.